Once Mexico joined the NAFTA, Mexico wanted to become the exclusive supplier of sugar to the United States. Notice that in this example, the domestic market clearing price in Mexico is higher than P sub W. Here's the intersection, and the domestic market clearing price would be right about here, but the world market price is lower than the domestic market clearing price. This means that Mexico would naturally be an importer of sugar, and the quantity of Mexican imports would be 1.5 million, going from 4.7 million to 3.2 million, demand being 4.7 and supply being 3.2 at the world market price. So naturally, with the world market being able to produce sugar at a cheaper price, Mexico is an importer of sugar. Analogously, with free trade, notice the US would be importing a much larger quantity of sugar. Here's the US demand at world market prices. Here's the US supply. Because the US does not allow free trade in sugar, there is some tariff or quota. It's a very complex policy. I would not expect that you would get it without some study. But the US is importing at the US domestic price 1.52 million tons of sugar. Here's the imports. The US is importing 1.52 million tons of sugar. Mexico has determined that it is possible for Mexico to export 1.5 million tons of sugar at the US price. In fact, it can even go further. 4.85 million tons would be its supply, 3.2 million its domestic demand at the US price. So that is 1.65 million tons. So Mexico is saying if it had access to the US market for sugar, it could supply 1.65 million tons, even though the US imported 1.52 million tons. So Mexico is saying we can more than meet all of your needs for sugar that are currently met by other countries, and because we have a free trade agreement, we want to become the exclusive supplier of sugar to the United States. US sugar producers oppose this because they don't want anyone selling sugar to the US from outside, but they have to live with the fact that this is the current arrangement. Mexico is trying to substitute for all of the other countries. The more important point here is that these are third world countries, and if Mexico gets to supply sugar exclusively to the US, that these countries would have to stop supplying sugar to the US at that higher US price. They would then have to go back to supplying that surplus of sugar to the rest of the world, and that would be at a lower price. Which means that if they were earning the US price, the higher price would go away. They would have to sell their sugar at the lower price, and that would not be good for those countries. They would be losing the revenue equivalent to Area C because they've lost access to the US market.